Hey now, good morning. Happy Tuesday, PASW staff clients, friends joining us. Yesterday, it was pretty dark, but it was fun looking at Blade Runner, 1982 Ridley Scott science fiction movie with the replicants and all that scary stuff. But we're going to come up with an electronic score for that opening shot of LA in the year 2019, even though we know what happened in 2019. But let's just, stay on track. So today it's going to be a nice revisitation of a great composer that we looked at about a year ago, a Brazilian composer. We'll talk about bossa nova and stuff later. We have so much to get to this year. We have so much time and so little to do. I mean the opposite. So today we're going to revisit Villa-Lobos, and I'm going to show you the class that we looked at. Just listen to the music, because tomorrow we're going to dive into another composer, a Spanish composer, not Brazilian, but I think these relate because both of these composers wrote a lot for the guitar. We're going to hear some beautiful, lovely Spanish guitar today and tomorrow. So let's take a look first at the Brazilian composer Villa-Lobos. Villa-Lobos is born in 1887, dies in 1959, which is a magic year because I always talk about things that happened in 1959, but we won't go into that. We need to get down. We need to leave New Mexico, and we need to get down to where we're talking about. We're going to go to the beautiful Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Now, we've been down here before. Now we're getting frequent flyer miles because what did we look at in Brazil? What is the birth of Rio de Janeiro? The birth is bossa nova, right? We did that class, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Months ago. But it's funny because if he dies in 59, bossa nova starts in 1958. So this class has nothing to do with bossa nova. I just wanted to make the connection that we're in the same region. And it's also interesting, when you're born surrounded by beauty, whether it's the ocean, the hills, that's going to influence your art. Just like we're in a city, and with our art, whether it's rap music or something like that, it's urban because there's city sounds outside art. So if there's bird sounds outside of where you live, it's the environment's going to reflect it. That's why also I do the LA classes, because that is our environment. Okay, so we're in Rio de Janeiro. Let's look at a little timeline when he's writing in the 1900s. He gets pretty famous by the end of his life, and conducts all around the world his music. But we'll just go over his life and then talk about one of his most famous and most beautiful pieces. But this is so way past Mozart, way past Bach. We know this stuff already. And he is born kind of a middle-class upbringing. His father was a librarian and an amateur astronomer, and also a musician. In fact, Villa-Lobos' early music education was by observing these little musical parties that his parents would throw at their house. And from the top of the stairs, he would listen in and listen, night after night of them playing music at these parties. There were regular musical evenings arranged at his house, and so what a great image of a young boy sitting at the top of the stairs listening to the beautiful music. Now, I don't know what the music was. Could have been classical music. His father was pretty well versed in all types of music, so he learns to play the cello, the guitar, the clarinet at a pretty young age. But when his father dies, he has to help make a living for the family. So starts playing these instruments, kind of in an amateur style, because he's a kid in cinema and theaters and cafes in Rio de Janeiro. And so his earliest compositions, like when he's writing, are kind of improvisations on the guitar mostly, and then he kind of leaves and becomes a bohemian, a vagabond, goes into the Brazilian jungles, the Amazon. He talks about some tall tales, and people are not sure if some of these are just embellished because they make for a good story, but about cannibals approaching him and all these scary things. So we're not sure, but we are sure that he went out and spent a lot of time in nature, in the jungle, with the animals and the Amazon River running and all these wonderful things I'm too scared to do. After this, he comes back to Brazil, and his first wife is influential on him because she's a pianist, and she says, you should spend more time writing kind of more classical, serious music, and she teaches him piano, and she debuts a lot of his pieces actually, and gets him to start taking it a little bit more seriously. And then 1917 is a big year because Darius Milhaud. We've talked about Milhaud a little bit because Burt Bacharach studied with Milhaud. He's a very famous French composer, wrote some wonderful pieces, and came to Brazil and introduced Villa-Lobos to Eric Satie and Claude Debussy and Stravinsky. So, we've talked about all three of those composers a lot. Villa-Lobos hears these recordings, rather through Milhaud, and also introduces Milhaud to Brazilian street music. And so they share a lot of music together. And then the next year, in 1918, he meets Arthur Rubinstein, who's a really famous piano player, and they become lifelong friends. And Rubinstein's a big proponent of performing a lot of his music. We always need help. We need a hand a lot of times. It's the same as, I don't know what it's akin to because I don't keep up with popular music, but it's akin to somebody who's well-known, established, and famous, and taking a pupil or taking somebody and saying, hey, you know what, we need to look at this guy, and I'm going to perform his music, and you guys should know, it's all about giving and all that stuff. So Rubinstein and Milhaud were very important for Villa-Lobos. But then, like I said, vice versa. It's not like they were, they wanted to learn about Brazil and Brazilian music. So, and Rubinstein said, you should come to Paris, and I'm sure Villa-Lobos felt a little bit restricted in Brazil. And so coming to Paris when he's 36, which is my age, in the 20s was glamorous. It was great. It was the age of beauty. It was the age, so he's meeting Picasso, he's meeting Aaron Copland, he's meeting all these wonderful people in Paris, and he's really starting to write freely music that's incorporating a lot of the sounds from Brazil. With Brazil, when he comes back home, he's bringing Beethoven and Bach and all these Western composers, European composers, to Brazil and putting on concerts, and actually does a lot of work teaching and getting music in public schools, and getting a choir together, and lack of a better word, giving back a lot. So it's all these like bringing music in different cultures, which is really cool. Today I guess people share Spotify playlists, which is nothing wrong with that. It's much easier than traveling on a boat, during the war. So after the war, like 1945, I feel like after the war, everyone was allowed to do things again. It's probably going to be a little bit like after COVID. It's like, okay, finally, now that Hitler's dead, now that the war has ended, we can travel, we can do things, So we'll see what it's like that maybe in a few months. But Villa-Lobos was able to go to the United States and go to New York and Israel and England and perform a lot of his pieces and conduct a lot of his pieces, and was really famous in all over the world actually as a Brazilian composer. And he always had this blend of early 20th century music, music that we've talked about. There's a lot of Ravel, it sounds like, in some of his music, a lot of Ravel, a lot of Debussy, but it doesn't sound like them completely. It sounds Brazilian because he's bringing in this kind of street music like sound that he developed, unconsciously, just as a kid, as a teenager living in Brazil. So the most famous piece that maybe you've heard, but everyone knows about, I never get tired of listening to this piece, is a piece he wrote about a dozen of these suites and Bachianas Brasileiras, Brazilian Bach pieces, Bachian pieces. So that's what that title means. So Bach is in South America now. And so people are probably wondering, what are you doing with Bach here? He was so influenced by Bach, and that's why he wrote these Brazilian Bach-like pieces. We know about Bach, of course. And so we're going to look at number 5. Number 5 is the most famous. Just beautiful. So he wrote these pieces for different instruments from 1930 to 1945. And this one in particular is scored for soprano voice and then 8 cellos, which is, that's unusual scoring. Usually we have with Brahms and Wagner and other composers we've looked at, they're using the full orchestra. He's, again, being different by, I don't think he's being different just on purpose. He's just hearing 8 cellos and a voice. But you hear all these the bass lines in the back. So with the cellos, they're playing there are 8 of them. So they're playing all this different counterpoint, all these different lines, the bass notes. So the voice is sustaining, but being part of these lines that are going on, but kind of sustaining with the ah. There's no lyrics until later where she sings in Portuguese, but it sounds like Spanish Bach music, doesn't it? Somehow, it does, because there's that Baroque feeling that the cellos are playing, the walking bass line that we've talked about. Baroque is always ornamentations going on, a lot of energy notes. Baroque is usually like that, and so you're hearing a lot of notes, but it doesn't sound like a mess of a lot of notes. It sounds he's outlining chords with these cellos, just like Bach would outline chords with the organ and the piano. It really puts you in such a mood, doesn't it? It's so all of his music is just so beautiful, and you get it's classical music, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter to categorize it sometimes, but in these classes we have to kind of analyze and appreciate what is going on. So he is using Bach, he is using classical composers, but he's also using what he's good at, which is sounds from Brazil. just like Astor Piazzolla did, right? Remember when Nadia Boulanger said, why are you hiding the accordion in your music? Why are you hiding the tango? Don't hide that. Use that. And Villa-Lobos, he definitely was recognized in his life, which is great. He said something great. He said, I learned music from a bird in the jungle of Brazil, not from academies. I thought that was good. I learned music from a bird in the jungles of Brazil and not from academies. So, and like I said at the beginning of the class, we are influenced by what's happening outside, right? And he didn't need to go to a fancy, expensive college or conservatory to write like this. You don't need to do that. Just like you don't need to do this. Just like we don't need to do these things. Sometimes our art is either inside of us, or all we simply have to do is go outside and listen to something from nature or from anywhere and to get inspired. So to say that that's where he learned music was from the birds. I mean, just, today, see, I give you homework every day. See if you can find something outside when take a walk, or, be safe with the mask. But I mean, see if there's something outside that inspires you in your art, whether it's street vendors or the sounds of engines and the city sounds, whatever it is. See if that can incorporate your art into something that's not maybe explainable. That's okay. I mean, a lot of art doesn't make sense in a way. That's the beauty of art. If art made sense to me, I would automatically lose interest, because the best things in life, at least to me, don't make sense. We try to make sense of them, but it's not complete. That's why I don't understand math, and I'm not teaching math. I know you thought I was going to teach math soon, but I'm not going to do that. So it raises more questions than answers. So see if you go outside and get inspired by something that's in nature, that something that colleges or academies or conservatories aren't going to just teach you. They can teach you technique and all that stuff, which is good. But then sometimes there's no heart in that. You need to bring your heart. So I hope you enjoyed that. Great composer, Brazilian composer, combined indigenous music that he listened to, birds in the jungle, in the forest, in Brazil, and then rhythmic elements, and then Western classical music, because he gave a lot to the classical composers in Europe and vice versa. I mean, they were interested in these new sounds, but I just love that he learned more from a bird, rather than a classical education. It's a slight exaggeration, but I still think our homework assignment should be listen to what's outside and be inspired from that. That's just as good as reading a book and reading about the world. But we also want to jump into the world now that we can right now. So that's Villa-Lobos. Hope you liked that. And tomorrow we're going to look at a Spanish composer, similar style though, and he was a little bit younger than Villa-Lobos, but we're going to stay around the 20th century. Don't worry, kids. Okay, have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.